Oh, it says live on YouTube.
Ah, yay. It's still loading for me. I must just have a little bit of a slower connection today. Yesterday we did ours. Ah, there we go. Okay, I'm going to share this.
I will too.
On Facebook. Maybe.
Great. I'll share it online.
Did it work?
Let me see. I think I have too many. My computer's lugging along. Trying to do Facebook and stream at the same time.
Okay, I think. I know I'm closing some things too. See if I can see it on here.
All right, I just posted. Hopefully.
Yeah, I posted it too. Yay. Okay. Everybody who's watching, thank you so much. Sorry we're a little late. I had a little technical difficulties getting this to share on Facebook. So we're going through YouTube today, YouTube to Facebook from Zoom. It's a crazy world that we're in. I know. Yes. So let me introduce my guest today. This is Laurin Kluver. Today is episode 5 of the Hello Gorgeous virtual bridal event. And Laurin was my wedding photographer. I'm so thankful that she's coming here to talk with me today. Just have a little small thing to read about you. I couldn't find, do you have a website?
No.
I was gonna message you. Okay.
For quarantine and it
No, I totally understand how that goes with, like, where does the time go? But yeah, so Laurin Kluver captures moments in time and turns them into beautiful memories. She is based in southeastern Montana on a working cattle ranch with her husband and 2 sweet daughters. Laurin also teaches Zumba and pound fitness classes in your community, right? And you've been doing those kind of virtually right now?
Yes, on Zoom. So
so you're a little familiar with the Zoom world then everyone's using.
Yes.
I know. I see so many people making comments. They're like, Zoom, I'm so over it, but I'm kind of thankful for it. It's been pretty good for a lot of stuff. I've done some fitness classes through our local gym on there too.
Sweet.
Yeah. So we are talking wedding and engagement photography today. And you are pretty young. How long have you been doing weddings though and doing photography?
So this will be my 4th wedding season. 5th. No, this is my 5th wedding season. 4th as a photographer.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and the first year I did it, I only had 1 wedding, and that just kind of kickstarted me. I decided I loved it.
Yes. Was it for a family member or how did you?
Best friend, and it was a pretty small little wedding, but I just loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you also do family photography and like seniors and stuff too, right? Or are you mostly all?
So I was like an all-in-one photographer. I did newborns and seniors and families and weddings and engagements and couples and product photography and just kind of all the things. I pretty much do most of those things still, except I stopped doing newborn photography because I decided that was just didn't make my heart sing. So
yeah. And it's one of my good friends who was excited to watch is a newborn photographer, little and big photography in Montana. And she was really excited to watch you today. And I'm just watching her from afar. It seems like newborn photography has its own like full set of stuff that you need.
All the things. I've been referring my newborn clients to her because she's so good. But you have to own the things, and honestly it's a skill and it's a talent that's completely separate in a lot of ways from photography. You have to know the photography side of it, but with newborns there's like a whole other set of things, and I was like, I'm just gonna go for what I love and I'm gonna let the really great at newborn photography handle
yeah. That's awesome. I know it can be really scary when you're starting a business. I'm feeling myself right now, kind of like doing all the things and feeling like it's a good idea to kind of niche down and like find the thing that really, like you said, makes your heart sing. That's awesome. So you're doing mostly weddings and engagements. Um, can you explain your style of photography? I don't know if that's a too broad of a question, but I just know when I'm looking through, when I was trying to find the photographer that I wanted, we looked at a million, and then when I saw yours, I was just like, okay, this is exactly what I want, but I can't put my finger on like what that is. So I don't know, maybe you have the words for that.
Um, I would say that like in photography, people just tend different directions, and like the two broad categories that people kind of categorize it under is either like light and airy or dark and moody.
Mm-hmm.
Not really either one of those.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a work in progress to kind of find my style and how I like to edit and how I like an image to turn out. But I always tell people that if could describe it in two words, it would be colorful and authentic. So I want those colors to really pop. I want the images to stand out, but I want the emotion and the connection and everything else to be really authentic. Not a whole lot of staging, kind of let people be themselves, but then make that image really colorful, make it pop.
Yes, I think that's perfect because that's definitely what I wanted to not don't I know some people really like it and there's nothing wrong with it, but I didn't really want something that looked really rigid or planned or like stiff, not a ton of those. Some of those you have to get, and you're happy you have them, but for the most part, definitely getting that emotions. I know you do a great job with that. Did you take any when you decided that you wanted to do weddings and stuff, did you take any like course specific work to learn about it?
So with weddings and engagements, I didn't at all. And actually, that first wedding I was telling you about that I shot, um, she was just really persistent with me. And she was like, I want you to shoot our wedding. I want you to shoot our wedding. I was like, I'm not a wedding photographer. That's a big, big commitment. There's no redos. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure. And I'll try it, but this is my first wedding I've ever shot. Like, I'm gonna charge you accordingly. And she was just really great to work with, and I just kind of learned as I went, and I kind of established what worked for me. And I definitely like I listened to other photography resources that were available, but there wasn't a specific course or anything that I
Mm-hmm.
took. More recently, though, I did take an editing mentorship with Kayla Locke. She's out of Missouri, but she just, the way that she edits, I really enjoy. She's strictly a family photographer, um, but I wanted to kind of incorporate some of her editing style into my images. So I took a mentorship with her. But that's as far as like formal education, that's about
Mm-hmm.
all I've had. And everything else has just kind of been learn as I go and
Mm-hmm.
on the ground experience.
I love that though, because you're obviously have such a talent and an eye for it that and it's such an art. I think that I love that it's a career that you can do and learn as you go and that's awesome. I love that. So I found you on Facebook through my sister-in-law. She was like, she knew I was struggling to find a photographer and pointed you out to me. Do most people find you that way, or do you have a lot of word of mouth because you're kind of you're in a smaller community, right? In Colstrip.
Yeah, so Colstrip is fairly small. We're right around 2,500 people, I think. And we'd mentioned earlier that I don't have a website.
Yeah.
That's just, I've been really blessed with client inflow through almost entirely word of mouth. I haven't done any advertising. I don't have a website, and I keep telling myself I'm going to make a website. I'm going to start advertising, but that business is just has been a really steady stream, and it's
Mhm.
almost entirely word of mouth. And I'm right about where I want to be as far as client numbers, and I'm as busy as I want to be. Sometimes I do have to turn people away from it. So I haven't really had the to
Mhm.
advertise a whole bunch or do a website. So a lot of people even find me by word of mouth, direct word of mouth. People who shot your wedding, that kind of word of mouth, and then also just from social media images being shared or tagged, and that's kind of what's kept it going. So that's
That's
been
awesome.
really cool. Yeah.
So since it's mostly word of mouth, are they usually Montana, Wyoming, or is it mostly in your direct area? Or are you having to travel a lot?
So I've traveled a couple times out of state, but in both of those cases, one was for my cousin's wedding and the other one was for a close family friend. But it is right around the Billings area. I have one wedding in Wyoming this year, but it is kind of centrally located to the Montana, Wyoming area. I shoot a lot at Fremont Ranch in Billings, but I do love me a Montana wildflower wedding.
Yeah. Is that I'm the only one? Is that what you said?
You're the only one that I've shot at Montana weddings, but I would shoot there every weekend if I could.
I know. I love it there so much. I got to interview Crystal last week. And so that was really fun to like relive some of those things too. I know, such a beautiful venue. But I'm sure, I mean, a lot of places in Montana and Wyoming are really beautiful and outdoors and kind of that.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot of like a family ranch wedding, and then like I said, I shoot at Camelot Ranch in Billings quite a bit, and they're gorgeous grounds, gorgeous facility. It was designed for weddings,
mhm,
where you get ready, the lighting is perfect, and they do it.
mhm. I've never been out there, but is that a newer venue in Billings? Or
Yeah, I think this is like their third season, maybe.
okay, yeah, because I remember seeing it. I feel like kind of right around the time we were getting married, and I was like, oh, I would never even like heard of that before. Some of those new ones. We need some new ones in Wyoming, so hopefully someone will pop up and do that. So
Yeah.
how far? So you have a steady stream. You have to turn people away. How far in advance are you usually booking people? Are like a year out or?
I would say the average is right around that year mark. When
Mhm,
people, that's kind of when people start getting a venue, getting a date solidified, and then they start looking for their other vendors. But I do have brides who are super on the ball and they're like 2 years out.
mhm,
That's a rarity. I would say I average around a year. And then every once in a while, there's the like elopement. Hey, what are you doing in 3 weeks? And if I
mhm.
can open, I'll take it. And
Yeah.
I don't. But I would say the average time that I book is probably a year in advance.
Yeah, I think that seems to be when a lot of people start planning. And I just thought of it. I think if you wait, like you said, to that 3 week or even 6 months, to less, you're risking not getting the vendors that you want. And like someone like if they're like, oh, they love your pictures, but if they're doing it too soon. So that's one thing I guess for people to keep in mind when they're getting engaged. If they want to get the vendors they want, they need to probably
Right.
about a year and a half is kind of what I'm hearing for some of these in demand places.
Right. And I would say too that even if you do kind of put it off and you decide, hey, we want a wedding date in 3 months, look into like a Friday or a Sunday date because those Saturdays book like crazy. And I think I only have two Friday weddings.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so the Saturdays book up really fast. But if you are kind of running on a time limit and you're worried about getting the vendors that you want, you can do a different day of the week.
What about a different month too? Do you typically only do weddings like what I think what Montana Wildflower was like May to September or something? Are those year months too, or do you do weddings all year if people wanted to?
They concentrate like June to September is what I would
Mhm.
define as my season. But I had two weddings for April. One of them rescheduled. One of them is still going, but a very very small wedding. I have one in May. But the bulk of the weddings that I shoot are June to September, and then I'll usually get one or two winter weddings. There's always a bride
Mhm.
who want like the first shawl and the pretty snow pictures.
Mhm.
I will shoot a couple of winter weddings usually every year, but most
Mhm.
right there in that prime time summer.
Yeah.
Weather's nice and we can go outside, and
Mhm.
that's
And
the prime.
especially for around here too, people traveling. I know, you don't, oops, sorry.
Oh
I
no,
was trying to, ah, I was trying to clear out a notification and it bummed me all out. Okay, I'm back. Especially for around here when people are traveling with the bad weather, it's kind of nice to plan it when people can be on the roads.
right. Yeah,
But
travel's a big I'm just gonna
yeah.
personal page too.
Oh yeah. For our wedding, you were so gracious and traveled to Sheridan, Wyoming to do our engagement pictures. So for us, and I'm going to get this wrong because I'm never the one driving, so I don't pay attention, but I think it's like 4 hours for us to get to Sheridan. And then was it like in 2 hours for you or?
It's a little over 2 hours to Sheridan.
Yeah, so that was so nice. And then we did winter engagement photos. Do you do engagement photos all year long? Or are those always, we did a package with you for wedding photos. So is that kind of?
So all of my wedding packages for wedding photography also come with an engagement shoot. And I basically have a 3-tiered wedding package offering. And most of that is into how many hours a day I'm shooting. And I think this is a little different. I kind of changed my packaging offering because I had people who were like, we only need it for 4 hours. And then I had people who were like, come at 9 p.m. and we'll send you home at 1 a.m.
Right.
I just kind of built that into my packages, and each one of them with an engagement session. There's a half-hour engagement shoot, an hour-long engagement shoot, and then I have a destination engagement shoot, which because I loved shooting your engagement pictures and Sheridan, Sheridan is one of the destinations, and then also Red Lodge. So my largest wedding package comes with that destination engagement session built into the pricing. And engagement pictures are all year round, kind of depending on what a couple's timeline is. That'll determine when we do the engagement pictures. Sometimes they get engaged in December and they have a June wedding. So then obviously the engagement pictures fall somewhere in there. But if they are planning a year in advance, basically I have people pick their favorite season. So whether they want fall engagement shoots or a winter or summer, just kind of whenever it is. I have a bride this year who really wants engagement pictures in a sunflower field. So
Oh.
like late summer, really early fall that will take.
Mhm.
And that's kind of determined by the growing season too. So we haven't set a date for those engagement pictures, but it'll be whenever those sunflowers show up.
That's a great idea. So do you have a farmer in mind, or are you guys just gonna drive around, find a field, and then like contact?
So there was a sunflower field in Hatcham, which is like 45 minutes or an hour away or so. Um, but a lot of times sunflowers are a rotational crop, so people plant them in a field and then they won't be there the next year. So I'm just
Mhm.
here, and we'll
Yeah.
find sunflowers wherever they are.
Yeah. My cousin sometimes grows sunflowers in Columbus, Montana. I don't know if they do it all the time, but yeah, I love the sunflowers. I can't wait to see those pictures. Everyone should definitely follow you. I haven't been doing a very good job. I did on like a few of mine posting how to find you. So we'll definitely have to do that on the description of this to show so people can see these pretty pictures as they come along.
Yes.
For engagement pictures, do you have any advice for couples as far as coordinating outfits or like what they should wear? I know it probably depends on where you're shooting, but I know some things that aren't super practical in real life look really good in pictures. Like, I wore a strap or a spaghetti strap dress in the middle of after a snowstorm. So, but so just do you have any advice for people who are trying to find wardrobes or maybe they never had professional photos taken together before to kind of ease their nerves?
So I trialed a styling service earlier on in this year, and I was like, this is gonna be awesome. You can just go there, plug in colors, kind of pick your style, and the service provides you with links. Uh,
Mhm.
you buy the products, and it was set up by two photographers, so they know what photographs really well. Um, and nobody used it, and I was like, oh, okay. So I think it was taking away the personal element of it because prior to that, I would make actual suggestions. I was like, this will be great. I won't have to suggest a color. They can kind of pick their own style. They can pick their budget without having to tell me. But I think it kind of took away that personal aspect. And I might try it again because I do think that it would be a really cool service. But right now, I just kind of recommend for engagement pictures, depending on the length of the shoot, basically there are two types of outfits, and then the length of your shoot can kind of determine if you have four outfits or if you just have two. One type of outfit would be really easy to move in. so that we can get those more fun and playful poses, whether it's running or a piggyback ride, a dip or something like that. And then the second outfit that I always recommend people use is a long flowy dress, because it's hard to beat the movement that a long dress will put into a picture, especially for engagement photos, which are a little bit fancier. And I actually had a bride, it was, oh, probably a few weeks ago. She didn't have any long flowy dresses and she ordered some. And because of quarantine and the shipping being really slow, they didn't come in. So she was the same size as me. So I just pulled a bunch of dresses from my closet. And then when she showed up to the shoot, I was like, here you go.
That's awesome. How lucky that she was your same size. Oh, I know. Shipping in quarantine, I can imagine that's probably adding a definite layer of trouble. I know on Pinterest though too, I know when we've done family photos, and I didn't even know you could do this, but my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law were pulling up like palettes and with outfit ideas in different color patterns, and even for the whole family there'd be a baby outfit and a mom outfit and just like husband everything. I thought that was really neat. I had never thought to look on Pinterest for that. So
Right. And Pinterest is really great for stuff like that, especially for family pictures when you have like 10 people that you need to coordinate their outfits. Because I think, depending on the generation that you're from, a lot of like my parents' generation, they're like, let's all wear white t-shirts and
yeah.
and every time somebody does, I'm like, no, pause. Let's have mom's shirt match dad's pants, which matches your daughter's cute little dress. And so coordinating those is pretty easy. Guys for engagement pictures, super, super easy. Some guys like they're into fashion and they know what they want to wear. And then the guys that don't know what they want to wear, I'm like, nice button up. Don't get crazy with the pattern or the color. Get the neon out of there. Just pull off of what she's got going on. She's the star of the
Yeah, definitely. I knew I wanted Brock to wear like a sports coat. And so we went to Jackson to their thrift store, and I don't know what happened, but some guy had brought in all of his sports jackets and they were like tailored to fit Brock. It was it was the perfect thing. The shoulders fit perfect, the length of the arms were perfect. Some of them were made in Italy, so definitely check the thrift shops, because we got them for $8 and I can guarantee you they were not originally $8. So it's crazy the luck.
Well, and he looked good too.
Thanks. He did. I love our engagement pictures and our wedding pictures too. But definitely the engagement was really fun. Do you see any trends going on right now in engagement photos that are new? I mean, I know when I was looking, I really wanted winter photos. So we were looking at, sometimes they had blankets wrapped around them. We didn't do those ones, but are some of the trends kind of the same, or?
Engagement photo trends right now. I think it kind of depends. There's, as far as like posing, and I've been doing it too, the like face with each one.
Oh, yeah.
Super in right now. I would say the engagement photos and this might be my area too, but I'm seeing a lot of like boho mountain type sessions, like the Pendleton blankets and the wildflowers, and not like pristinely curled hair, but like a little bit more. I see weddings and whether it's elopements and engagement photos kind of tending more towards that. So that's kind of where I see engagement photos heading. And I had a mountain engagement shoot a few weeks ago, and it was really fun.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited to see it. I know I like that kind of casual vibe, but they're really styled shoots. I think they look really pretty.
There's almost like a wild sort of element to how like they ran away together to the mountains or something like that.
Yeah, just really romantic. Like you're kind of peeping in on a date or something like that. I really like that. Is there a season that you prefer, or do you kind of like them all, or is there any seasons you avoid? Like if a bride's like, I want this season, you're like, no. Because right now I'm looking out my window and it's not like the prettiest outside right at this moment.
My least favorite weather to shoot in, and I'll tell people this, is patchy snow. So, and that's kind of what it's like right now. Like total snow cover, like it was for your engagement pictures, gorgeous. Can't beat it. Like fresh fallen snow, not. But when it starts getting melty and patchy, and there's like mud and then a little bit of like brown snow, can't I can't stand it. But other than that, I'm kind of up for all seasons. I know like usually brides or families, they have their preference. I don't like cold weather, but I'm more than willing to tough it out for a couple hours to get some good snow pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I tend towards summer just because I love the weather.
Mm-hmm.
But in any kind of weather. And fall is always super beautiful with all of the colors that it'll bring to an image. And there's just a lot of goodness in all the seasons. But I
Yeah.
will put my hands on a heater vent when I get back in the car after doing a winter session.
Oh yeah, by the end of ours, I remember it was starting to get pretty chilly. My scars were turning purple. I was like, "Oh, I'm getting cold." But so I know you mentioned you do destination engagement photos, and you said Red Lodge and Sheridan were on there. Do you have a favorite place to do engagement photos, or do you kind of try? I'm sure you try not to go to the same place all the time, but
Yeah, so I love doing mountain engagement sessions. Red Lodge in particular, I've done quite a bit of location scouting around there. I think that your engagement pictures were the only ones I'd done in Sheridan, which I'd
Mhm.
love to do more there just because it's a mountain type setting. But I have shot in Red Lodge a handful of times, and I love the mountains, and it's really cool to get right up close next to Rock Creek. So that's for the engagement or the destination engagement pictures. Um, but for my regular engagement session, we have a ranch that's like a half hour away. We're about 20 miles south of the interstate, so it's pretty accessible for most people.
Oh, wow.
And I love shooting because I'm there already, and I'm able to explore and find the good spots. And it's something that nobody else would have because I'm the only one who takes pictures on our ranch. So there's lots of really unique locations that can be that couple's their engagement pictures look completely different than anybody else's. So that's
Yeah.
really fun.
That is really fun. You've got your own built-in studio of acres and acres of beautiful land. That's awesome. Let's see. So at our wedding, so we're kind of, was there anything else you want to say about engagement photos or
No, I
no?
think
We covered it good. So at our wedding, you had a second shooter and I loved her. Brianna, right? Bree. Yeah, she was great. Do you always do a second shooter? I remember in our contract it said like if available. So you probably just have a couple people you like to work with and
so. Brianna actually moved to California. She left me.
I,
Really good friend Alyssa, right around that time, started moving in to photography, and she is so talented. She took to it right away. So she's who I've second shot all of my weddings with since then, and I actually second shoot weddings for her now too on some weekends. And we work really well together, and we've established a really good pattern. So I have my 3 wedding packages. The lowest priced package doesn't come with a second shooter, but I've actually been thinking about reworking my pricing to ensure that all of my packages come with a second shooter. I think it's really valuable for not only getting those second angles, having somebody to remind you about a shot that you might have missed or anything else. And it just kind of puts me more at ease to have that person that I'm working off of and working with. And it's also the ultimate failsafe. I've only ever had one memory card corrupt on me, uh, which happens because technology. So the camera that I use, I picked it specifically because it has 2 memory card slots. So every picture I take in a wedding goes to both of those memory cards. So if I were to ever have an issue with a memory card, I have a double copy of everything I have. And then that second shooter is just extra insurance as far as protecting the images goes. And I was actually the memory card that corrupted. I also have a software that I purchased that will get the images back off of that card, and I was able to get those images off of the corrupted card too. So basically, I have at least 2 copies of every image, and then a second shooter is just added insurance into that. And luckily, I've never had an issue with it because that's the biggest reason I think that people hesitate to go into wedding photography is because it's so high pressure.
Mhm.
So I have I actually have 2 of the cameras with 2 memory card slots. And during ceremony and sometimes reception, I'll have both my cameras on me at all times. And I'll just kind of alternate. They're usually a different lens, so I'm getting a different focal length with the cameras too. But I'm also just making sure that I'm set up no matter what. And if for some reason one camera started smoking in the middle of the vows, I could just
Mhm.
chuck it to the side and start shooting with my other one. So
Oh, that's good.
I really make sure that I have all of that backed up, and a second shooter is just an added
Another.
in a lot of ways.
And another angle from everything. 'Cause yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. What kind of benefits are there to having a second shooter? But you just went into all of that. So that's great. I wondered if it was only to get the different angles or to get the different viewpoints, but an added insurance. Those are things I would have never even thought about. But it makes total sense. You don't want to lose any of those pictures.
Yeah, and kind of depending on how a bride's timeline works, sometimes there are events that are overlapping. Um, like they might be having a special moment with their parents. Their parents might all be praying together over the couple while the couple's doing their first look or something like that. So in those cases, you just have another option to say, I'm going to stay here, you go capture that.
Mhm.
Extra set of eyes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you like it when brides give you a shot list or something really specific? Or I was going to look back through our correspondence, but I kind of forgot. I can't remember what we talked about with that. If,
So I think I've had some brides who think that they need to be like incredibly specific with their shot list. Like, I want to make sure that my husband and I get a picture together. I'm like, got you. Or like, I want to make sure I get a picture with my mom. And I'm like, oh, absolutely. So as far as those really basic shots, and if a bride is concerned about something like that, I'll usually kind of walk through like, I make sure we get these family shots because I have a list in my head that's kind of autopilot at this point. Um, but there are always exceptions to that because every bride is different and they all have different needs and different wants. So if there are specific, very specific pictures that a bride wants, like I had a bride at Camelot and she just loved this one tree that Camelot has. And she was like, I want to make sure we get a picture with that. So I would say a shot list is very helpful if you have those specific pictures that are away from the norm, that don't fall under the category of I want a picture with my mom and I. Maybe you want a picture of your wedding ring and your mom's wedding ring side by side. So that would
Mhm.
be something that I would inherently or necessarily get. The shot list can be really helpful as far as that goes. But brides are so busy and they have so much going on. I like to take the pressure off of that shot list as well because I do. So I just have a running list in my head and I understand to get a whole wedding captured, what are the images I need to get? And that pressure shouldn't be on the bride. So
Mhm. And that's probably been something that's been easier to plan out the more weddings you've done and as you kind of changed your packages. So your packages go by time. So would that include the get ready time, the ceremony, reception, and then can they add on like per if they decide, I don't know, if you're like, okay, your time's up, but now it's hourly or something like that?
so the way and I don't know, I'm kind of a sucker for a bride on her day. Like if our time has ran out and I probably shouldn't even be saying this, but it's ran out and like you still haven't done your first dance, I'm not gonna be like, okay, it'll be
Right.
$10 more or bye bye. And so a
Yeah.
lot of those smaller package, I kind of end up staying longer and shooting longer anyways. But
Mhm.
I have a 5 hour, an 8 hour, and then an all day. So a bride can kind of picture how she wants her day to go. And I encourage all of my brides that they at least need some golden hour shots.
Mhm.
Because as far as what I advertise, what I post on social media, a lot of those wedding pictures are from golden hour. So I usually, with the 5 and 8 hour packages, the one that have a time limit, I tell them what time golden hour is on the day of their wedding. And I just ask them to work that into their timeline. And I've had a couple brides who are like, it's not important to me. I'd rather have getting ready pictures. And that's completely a bride's choice. But a lot of times I'll work backwards off of the golden hour pictures. So if golden hour starts at 7 o'clock on the day of your wedding, and we'll probably shoot for a half an hour or so during golden hour, let's say 7:30. So then if you have a 5 hour package, I would probably show up around 2:30. And then a bride can kind of decide if they want that to include getting ready pictures or how they want to work it, or they can just book me for all day.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like for any brides who are listening right now, get the golden hour photos. I feel like that was our one of our favorite times of the whole day. We got to be alone for a minute. I mean, you guys were there, but it was just so nice to be you right after you get married. We started to eat dinner, but it was just like a moment for the two of us. And those pictures are super romantic. You're like kissing, and it was just, I don't know. I think we both really loved that time where we could have together kind of in the midst of a really amazing but busy day where you're
So many people and they're all there for you, and it is really nice to just take a step back and focus on you too. And if
mm-hmm.
it's a setting and it's totally gorgeous and you get it captured, then bonus.
Yeah. Yeah. So I definitely, and if anyone's like, should I? Like, yeah, you should get the golden hour photos for sure. I know another thing that we really talked about, Brock and I, when we first got engaged, we were like, we do not want to see each other before the ceremony. I'd always imagined in my head, just that's the first time when you're walking down the aisle, it's this like huge deal. And then one of my really good childhood friends was like, okay, I know you're set on this, but I feel like your husband is kind of like my husband in that he's a little more reserved and shy. And we decided to do the first look so that he could be comfortable showing emotion and she's like, I'm not trying to sway your opinion, but that was something I hadn't really thought of. So I talked to my husband about it and he's like, yeah, that would be better. So we did end up doing the first look and doing all the pictures beforehand, and I'm so glad we did. Do you have a preference on that, or is it kind of
So I definitely prefer first look, but I'm not strict on it. I know a couple wedding photographers who are like, these are my bride. Like, my bride does a first look. And if you don't do a first look, then go ahead and find a different wedding photographer. And I
yeah,
can't do that because it's such a personal decision.
yeah.
But I do tend to make the recommendation just because it does make the day run a whole lot smoother. My husband and I did a first look, and I wanted to see him. Like, you're getting ready, you're getting in your dress, like your friends are there, your family's there, but I really just wanted to see him, and I wanted to talk to him, and I wanted to have a moment for us to be together, collect our thoughts, and just be able to see each other and spend time together before that big, like, and everybody's there. We had 400 people at our wedding, so really big, and so it's extra important to me to have that time with him. But from a wedding photographer perspective, it does make the day just go a whole lot smoother. You can
Mm-hmm.
all those pictures instead of trying to break them up. We got the bridesmaid pictures, we got the groomsmen pictures. Now we need to get bridesmaid and groomsmen, and we got her family and we got his family, but now we need to get everybody together. It just takes a whole element of stress and busy out to do those first look pictures. But like I said, it's a super personal decision, and some people are fine with sacrificing that first look down the aisle for a more intimate first look. And some people just have always had it in their mind, like, this is going to be the first time he sees me. And I will say, if a bride is on the fence, just from seeing first looks done both ways, I don't think that doing a first look before the ceremony really takes too much away from that first look walking down the aisle, because it's just that moment, and it's that moment whether he's seen you before or whether he hasn't, because
Mm-hmm.
playing and your friends and family are there, and the food
Mm-hmm.
is, will everybody please rise, and it is that moment
Yeah.
of if he's seen you half an hour before or not.
No, I totally agree with that. I didn't feel robbed of that moment at all. It was still very emotional, and your dad, well, hopefully if that's what you want, but my dad was there. It just made it very it
Very
was still way special. And I think with the first look, like you said, you're ready to see your husband. And I remember feeling that way too. Like there's so much going on, you're getting ready, you're so anxious, and it's just like, oh, like there's your person, the reason you're here. And you just kind of, it's easier to, I feel like, kind of relax and enjoy what's happening because you're like, I don't know. But everybody definitely has their own opinion on that. But I was curious. I did feel like it made our day just go so smoothly to have all the pictures. I don't think we had, the only pictures we did after the ceremony were the golden hour
Mhm.
photos. So it's kind of nice.
Right, right, and
Yeah.
it's off too, and I tell people, when I'm kind of explaining it, I'm like, "I'm documenting." So, I'm here to just document what's going on in your day for the most part, and then we do have those more staged family photos, bridal party photos, and then we'll do, bridal portraits and golden hour. But for the most part, a wedding photographer should just be documenting what's naturally occurring. And that's really what I try to do. I try to capture those organic moments throughout the day. Those ones really special too. Like you had mentioned, your dad walking you down the aisle, and there's a picture, and I can see it in my head, and I can remember it like right before he gave you away, and he looked over at you, and he had like hearts shooting out of my mom the picture. Does this man adore his daughter or not? Because
Oh,
beaming.
that is so sweet. Thank you. I know those pictures, they're so special to me. I love those. So thank you so much for that. Remembering that. That's sweet. I'm probably going to go and look at all our pictures now after this. It's just fun to remember.
He's just if it was a video, there would be like hearts and stars like shooting out of his eyes towards you because
Oh, that's awesome. You got this other amazing picture that I love where I think my back is kind of to whoever is taking it, you or Brie, but and it shows Brock looking at me, and I think my dad's looking at me, and then my father-in-law is looking at me too. And it's just like all these men in my life and just like the love. And it was, oh, there's just so many good ones. It's impossible to pick your favorites, but some of them definitely stick out in your mind for sure.
yeah.
And I know you mentioned Montana Wildflower was a really a venue you loved shooting at. Camelot, you mentioned some of these. Are some types of venues a little more difficult to photograph or?
It kind of depends. The venues that were built to host events that were built with a wedding venue in mind, um, they're just they're set up for it. They're built for it. So the lighting and the proximity and everything else, it flows really well. I would say the hardest venues to shoot are ones with poor lighting.
Mm,
Which for the most part, if you're booking a true wedding venue, you shouldn't really have that issue because it's if it's a wedding venue, they should. And all the ones that I've shot at have been really good. I would say I've shot a couple weddings in older churches or like a more traditional Catholic type church where there's not big windows, there's not a whole lot of lighting, and that just it's not an impossible challenge at all.
mm,
But you kind of have to plan for it. Um,
mhm,
a lot of times, well, not a lot of times. Sometimes the getting ready spaces aren't planned for pictures. So if you're getting ready in your mother-in-law's room and she has like a stack of laundry on the pillows and stuff like that, you do have to get creative with your angles.
mhm,
But for the most part, you a photographer should be able to make any venue, any setting for a photo work.
to get your style. Yeah, that's good. I just thought of one other thing, and I know it's the bride and the groom's day, and I know it's one or the other who has a ton of friends and they just must have them all, or they feel like they must have them all. But do you ever, I mean, I don't know if it's a photographer's place, but like recommend a wedding party amount? I just remember I was in a wedding where they had, I want to say each of them had eight I want to say 8 or 9. And we took photos before the wedding for like 5 hours. And it was just like herding cats. And there were so many, just so much going on. So I was in a lot of weddings and I knew that I wanted like the least amount possible. And I'm really glad that we did that. I know I worried about hurting my friends' feelings, but they were all really supportive and nobody really got upset. But I just wondered if you had any feelings about that, or if it doesn't really matter the size of the wedding party.
Um, no, I would say on the surface it probably doesn't matter, and that's way more of like a bride's decision, or a groom's decision,
Mhm.
I would say. I think the largest wedding party that I shot was 11 and 11. So altogether there were 22, and it can get a little busy. Groomsmen especially, and I know that a lot of times brides have expressed concern about this, especially in those larger wedding parties. It's like my fiance's friends are crazy, and I'm not afraid to manhandle a bunch of groomsmen and boss them around and act like their mom, because a lot of times they started drinking at 8 a.m. and they're wild by pictures come in the afternoon.
Mhm.
And Alyssa and I, the girl that I second shoot with now, we're not afraid to mom some groomsmen. So
That's
I think the size of a wedding party, we can always make it work. And I haven't shot it, but I had a friend, and she and her husband are just different personalities. He's very outgoing, had been in like 30 weddings or something crazy like
oh my
that.
gosh,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
my husband had been in a lot of weddings too. And I would say don't be afraid to have, um, if it suits you, have a different number of those bridesmaids and groomsmen. I think my husband had one or two more groomsmen than I did. And similarly with pictures, a photographer can take an uneven bridal party and make it look even just
Oh,
by, um, have two groomsmen for every one bridesmaid on each side. But I would say that that's definitely a bride's decision. And we'll just roll with it. Where you bring them on.
that's good. That's good to know because I know I see some of those and I'm like, how are they doing it? But like you said, it's super personal. So that's good to know that you're not afraid to lay it down the law if you need to and can get some good pictures.
I would say over the groomsmen they need to be mommed.
Yeah, they need to be moved. They get a little wild. What are some wedding trends that you're really loving right now? I know they're kind of always changing, but do you have any trends or anything that are new that you're loving?
I'm really loving. I've seen it even in the little bit of time that I've been shooting weddings. I think the door's really been open on personalizing a wedding. I feel like for a long time people kind of tended towards traditional, um, whether it was ceremony location or even dresses or decorating the cake that you serve. And now I
Mhm.
see people like, we love pizza. We just serve pizza. And
Mhm.
people doing like donuts instead of a cake or cookies and milk.
Mhm.
And I think that, I mean, that's a very specific example as far as the cakes go, but I think overall the trend in weddings is way more towards personalization. And I see a lot of brides who feel really free to add their own touch to their weddings instead of sticking with what's really big now at the time of their wedding.
Mhm. That is nice. It is, there's so many options to personalize. I remember I stressed for weeks over these dumb little napkins that we were going to put with the cupcakes, and they had an R because my last name's Roberts, and then we had a circle with like flowers, and I don't even know. I sent Brock like 10 to 20 designs. I'm like, which one? And I think no one even used a napkin. Like, we're still using these napkins. Like, I bring them to every function. I'm like, napkins, this is what we're using. Oh, and I'm just all
Also,
those
we're very formal.
yeah, we're very formal. I know our wedding plates and silverware too. I still pop those out every once in a while because we've got so many extras. But I know it's so fun to personalize it, but then you get like caught up on these little things and that like nobody even used the dumb napkins. But so another question I had was, what is there something that you wish your brides knew about wedding day photography that would make your life easier, or like some tips advice for them for their day of their wedding?
I guess my biggest piece of advice for a bride, and I've been really blessed. Most of my brides have been like very calm, even keel. I haven't had any who are super stressed. But the few that I have who you can tell that they're stressed. And a lot of
Mhm.
times brides will have a hard time letting that go. So I
Mhm.
say, let's say your wedding date is June 10th. Leave all the stress, all of the decisions, all of the worry, all of that work, leave it on June 9th.
Mhm.
And then June 10th, just show up because same thing. We have decorations that we never used that I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, we never hung those up. And we still got married. We still had a beautiful day. All of our friends were still there. Uh,
Mhm.
and the things that carry over, the things that transcend past the day of the wedding, whether it's pictures or the video, those are going to read stress. And
Mhm.
your photographer and your videographer, they can do all that's within their power. But if you're stressed, if you're tense, it's going to read. And those moments and those memories, they're going to hold the stress too. So I would say just let all of the hard work that you've been doing, leave it in the day before and just walk into the wedding free and without a care and just enjoy your day, and love your husband and just have a good day.
Ah, I love that. That's such good advice. And then I'm sure over the years of your wedding photography, like we've talked about, you learn different things like second shooter, maybe having a camera with two memory cards. Is there anything you're willing to share with other photographers who might be watching? Like some things that you've learned that help your day go easier?
Um, Gear is important. Like we talked about with the cameras with multiple memory card slots. And it'll take a burden off of your plate. If somebody's completely new to photography, never shot a wedding, something I wish I would have done prior to shooting my first wedding, and I just kind of jumped in with both feet, and I actually hadn't second shot a wedding until it's within the past year and a half, probably.
Mhm.
Second shot a wedding, but most wedding photographers are looking for second shooters, and it's not hard to find a second shooting gig. And that's a really good foot in the door to kind of get that experience under your belt, because I didn't. I just kind of made it up as I went along, and I'm like, oh, yeah, now we're gonna go over here and we're cake. Yeah, cake. It's a wedding. Cake.
Yeah,
I
hilarious.
as I went. But I do think it would have been really helpful, to have had a second shooting opportunity prior, to trying to start wedding photography. And I would say lighting is huge. Lighting is big, big, big. Whether it's off-camera lighting with some LED panels or off-camera flash or on-camera flash, be prepared. Go into a wedding ready to shoot anything at any time and
Mhm.
our pictures because they're the money.
That's great advice. I love that. Well, I think that's all I had for questions. I was going to see if anyone had posted any questions. I don't really know how to see them since we have it on YouTube and then onto Facebook. Do your viewers have any questions that they posted?
I'm checking right
I don't
now.
see any on Facebook, but I don't really know how to look at these either.
Let me see. I'll look up the YouTube and I'll see if there is
Okay. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and comment them. If we don't get to them right now in the end of this video, we will get to them later and can send them to you. You can find Laurin at Laurin Kluver Photography on Facebook and Instagram, right? And are you taking any more weddings this summer or are you full for this year?
Oh, I have a hard time saying no. So when I say it, I'm like, I'm full. I'm booked. I'm good to go. But honestly, if somebody came to me tomorrow and they were like, "What are you doing in 2 weeks?" I would just be like,
Right.
right now, I say I'm booked. But honestly, the door's probably always
The
open.
door's probably open. Well, and hopefully things don't change too much with this. I know the salon owner that I worked at, she messaged me today and said that we got the go ahead from the state to open up at least our tanning portion of our salon. So that's really exciting. So things are starting to like come back to life here in the spring. So I'm hopefully that will be the same for the weddings, and not many people will have to reschedule or change their plans for you. But definitely your passion and your generous heart with your weddings really shows through. And that's one of the best things I remember about our wedding was you guys. I mean, I remember looking over you, you were like teary-eyed during different things and just totally into it. And that just made our day so much better just to have such awesome photographer. And it definitely, we still get compliments about all of our photos and all of our pictures. And I made Brock, for our paper anniversary, a calendar of wedding photos, and he just loves it. It's on his desk at his office. So definitely, all you brides out there, pick the photographer with the style that you love, because that's so important for your wedding day. So thank you for being so great.
Your day is seriously top on my list. You guys did such a good job. I love each other. It's one of my favorites for sure.
Oh, thank you. That means so much to me. Well, if you don't have anything else to add, I think we can call it a day. I don't see any questions coming through on YouTube or anything. So we'll just, if I get any, I'll just direct them to you, but hopefully they'll just know where to find you also.
Yeah, sweet. I'm going to do a quick little boomerang and I'll post it to my Instagram story and tell people.
Yes, I know. I have to record with mine.
Okay.
Cute.
Sweet. Well,
cute. All right. Yes. Thank you, Laurin. And let's not wait 2 years to talk again. Hopefully I'll see you again, and have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, you too.
All right. Bye.